Ryan Day was on the Bobby Carpenter Show yesterday. I feel weird doing this with you, Austin.
Okay.
Because most of the stuff you already probably know. Like, I don't think I might be surprised by some of the audio. You will not be, because you've got your finger on the pulse of it. So act surprised. Act surprised. If you're not surprised, just let's play along.
Okay.
Here's Ryan Day talking about balancing the quarterback battle.
I would say that there's times where I've gone into this part of the season where I feel like I know or have a feeling on where it's going. I don't right now. I like both of our guys. I think Tavian's still, again, a third right now, and he's got to grow, and I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. But he needs, this preseason. He needs, the first half of the season to grow. But Julian and Lincoln both have done some really good things here in the offseason. They're getting stronger. Talking to Mick, there's been really good leadership. The ball's coming out of their hand good right now. But we got to go play football. And that's to me, like, obviously the wild card in all of this. When it's 4th and 2, are we going to get, 3 yards? Getting guys into, to play well once we get in the red zone, like making the throws that we need to make in the red area, making decisions on when to throw the ball away, taking care of the football, maybe taking a sack when, we're not going to force the ball into coverage so that, we might have to punt as hard as that is, play great defense, get the ball back and go score. Like that to me is how you win games, is making great decisions. 3rd down, 2-minute. And so you just don't know until you get on the field and play. I thought there was some really good growth this spring, but we'll see. We'll see where this thing goes. And like we said, we'll get some really good feedback after the first one.
Well, that is shocking, Tito.
See, I need to say that. Yes. That's good.
Whoa!
You got to really sell it on the YouTube part, too, there. You got to. I
look right at the camera.
Right.
What?
I need your jaw drop.
Oh. Okay.
Julian Sain's going to be starting the season, right? I'm sorry, let me put it this way. Julian Sayin will take, barring any injury, will take the majority of snaps this year in live action, right?
Probably. But, I mean, Tito, I've been accused of overhyping this, that it's a neck-and-neck competition, that it is only something to talk about in the offseason. I mean, I don't think that I've learned that Ryan Day, when it comes to talking about his quarterbacks, you take him at his word. He has not been proven to be a liar about it. And I thought 2 years ago, I've said this on the Buckeyes show, I've said it on the beat, I've told you and Bob this before, I felt like the way that I covered the quarterback competition, the last time there was a true one, because there wasn't one last year between Will Howard and Devin Brown, but there was a Devin Brown competition with Kyle McCord 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I approached it the way that you just did right now with Julian Sayin, which is that Kyle McCord is going to win this job. He's going to take the majority of the snaps. He's the leader. He's more experienced, everything down the road. And Ryan Day would say in the middle of camp, well, it's going back and forth, and there are days that Devin's ahead, and there's days that Kyle's ahead, and I would say, no, I don't buy that. And I think I did a bad job covering it, because that was true. And if I had been paying closer attention, I think some of the ups and downs and inconsistency that we saw at quarterback throughout that year, not just like Indiana and getting both quarterbacks involved, but even once Kyle McCord was dealing with the injuries or hitting a wall, or once they put Devin Brown into the red zone packages, I think maybe I would have, if I had not been so intent in August of saying Kyle McCord is definitely going to win this job, mm-hmm. I would have been open to the idea that they may need to play them both, that maybe one guy hasn't just taken that job and ran with it. And this situation is different in the part where I would agree is that the higher upside, I think the better pure passer is Julian Sayin.
Right.
And so if you're putting down money and your expectation is who's got the maybe better long-term chances of being Ohio State's quarterback, you can say that everyone pretty much universally agrees that would be Julian Sayin. But it is not that Julian Sayin himself had a poor spring. It's that Lincoln Kienholz had a very good one. So I think if you're looking to be optimistic about it and say, well, then 2023 was a real problem. If nobody has taken this job by the reins, it's not August yet, so we can tap the brakes.
Right.
But Lincoln Kienholz is elevating his game, and they're both pushing each other. Where when it was going back and forth between Kyle McCord and Devin Brown is because both guys were having some days where they were turning the football over or they weren't executing at the highest level. It was more of a gosh, I wish we were seeing more. Ohio State needs to see more. I think Ryan Day, Billy Fessler, Brian Hartline have all felt really encouraged by what they've seen from Lincoln Kienholz. And the other difference between this quarterback battle and 2 years ago is that there was a notion that Devin Brown was a true dual threat, and the offense would look very different if he was out there compared to Kyle McCord, when the reality was they were much closer in athletic profile and quarterback style than I think was generally perceived outside the Woody. That's not the case with Lincoln Kienholz and Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin is a prototype passer. Lincoln Kienholz can hurt you with his legs. He can run over people, will run over people. He's a multi-sport star in high school. He can do those things that I think many people projected that Devin Brown would or could 2 years ago. So this is an actual situation where you do have two paths that are very different. And I think the question then becomes, who's most ready to play against Texas and who proves that by the middle of August? Because you can't afford, I don't think, to go to the Monday before playing Texas and not know what your game plan is going to be at quarterback.
I think that part of my apprehension is, and this is totally unfair to Lincoln Kienholz, is the one time I saw him with significant action against another team was the Missouri game.
100%.
And look, when you're watching the game, though, you know the offensive line didn't do any favors. And you also know he really wasn't ready to be out there.
Yeah, and that shouldn't have been a surprise. He was the third-string quarterback as a true freshman who did not even go through spring practice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's become so common, you just assume that all true freshmen by the end of that first year are now they're second-year players. They've been through the program. If you're not one of those guys who enrolls early, and especially at quarterback, you're so far behind. And Lincoln Kienholz, when he was in high school as well, not just that he missed that spring camp and the chance to get a head start of learning the position, he was not playing spring football either. He wasn't doing winter stuff for football. Right. He was playing basketball. He was playing baseball. He was doing track. He was doing everything under the sun except playing quarterback, which is, the hardest position in all of sports to learn and execute at a high level. He needed those reps. And there was no way to catch back up on him because it wasn't a situation where he was getting the backup reps late in games, because you had Kyle McCord and Devin Brown and then Lincoln Kienholz. And because of the quarterback battle and the fact that Lincoln hadn't been around in spring, Ohio State really couldn't devote a ton of time to getting him ready in that August training camp. It was like, well, this is just a wash, a development year for Lincoln, and he's going to have to get into that as a second-year player in the program. So he was not ready for that game, not even close. And it did not help that the offensive line was in transition, in a state of flux, and getting completely dominated by Missouri in that game.
Right.
So, I understand the lasting memory of that because he did take a true development year a year ago, didn't get on the field, and I understand the notion that if you're looking at Ohio State's quarterback room, well, Julian Sayin showed up, and he became the third-string quarterback, and he's the one that got the reps ahead of Lincoln Kienholz. Why wouldn't he still be ahead of him now? I don't think that that's unfair to evaluate it that way either. I think the point is not that Julian Sayin has gone in reverse. The point is that Lincoln Kienholz, with all of that athleticism I've talked about, with now 2.5 years in the program, that maybe he's starting to understand how to play the quarterback and how to operate this system for Ohio State. I'm not going out on a limb to say Lincoln Kienholz is going to win this job. That would not be where my actual American currency would go down. But I think that it is a more legitimate competition than it tends to get credit for.
Here is Ryan Day on the Bobby Carpenter Show talking about Matt Patricia.
We hired him. I was fired up, but I'm more fired up now because I've seen him talk to the guys, talk to recruits, build relationships, and then they're just taking ownership of this defense. I mean, when they go out there, there's just a certain level of confidence when they break that huddle, when they're communicating. I mean, they're moving fast. Now we got to get on the field and we got to do it. But I'm really excited about it. And Matt has brought a lot of great experience to the table. Not just the fact that he's a defensive coordinator. He was an offensive coordinator. He was a GM. So now in the new age of what we're doing with the salary cap, he brings in that experience. He's been a head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator at the highest level. He's played long seasons. He's been around great players. And I think one of the best things that he's done over his career is put guys in a position to be successful. And he certainly did that at the Patriots. So we have some really good weapons over there. And I'm really fired up to see, not only how it looks in the first game, but how it grows as the season goes on.
The Patricia thing, it's intriguing to me to see how it's going to be. Obviously, had a transition on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And, defensively now, it's going to be different as well. But I have a lot of confidence. I think Patricia's one of those guys who's better suited as a coordinator and also much better suited to be a successful coordinator if in almost every game he's got superior talent on his side of the ball.
Makes it easier, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I think when you have the depth of experience and expertise that Matt Patricia does, this was the part going back to February. I was skeptical about, because of the personality, the perception of his personality. That hasn't really matched up with the reality, by the way. But when he was hired, it was like, this feels like it's pretty much out of left field. Why? He's from the Belichick tree. He's going to have to relate to college players. When he managed the top of the franchise with Detroit, it did not go very well. There was no part where you just be like, well, you're going to be skeptical of the scheme. You're going to be skeptical of the football knowledge. It was all about the other stuff. Are you going to recruit? Are you going to be able to relate to players, manage players? When it comes down to the X's and O's part, you're talking about somebody going from working with Bill Belichick and having this incredibly deep Rolodex of plays and game plans and flexibility and versatility and scheme and all that. And now you're dropping down, quote unquote, a level, and getting really good players that you don't have to draft and piece things together. You get to pick the ingredients that you want and then go make the meal. And I think that there was never any hesitancy on my part from that perspective. Yeah, he's going to be able to build a defense and be really good. But it has been the other part of it, which Ryan Day is sort of alluding to. He has built incredible relationships with players. I was on campus multiple times throughout June when they're having the one-day recruiting camps, and the players have their workouts in the morning, they have meetings in the afternoon. They're always, the current roster is also around. And I can't even count the number of times it was C.J. Hicks over here, it was Caleb Downs over here, it was Jermaine Matthews over here, just guys who were walking up and just hugging Matt Patricia,
right,
attached at the hip to Matt Patricia. I was like, certainly I didn't anticipate seeing that, Tito, but they have taken to him, and he has also taken to the recruiting trail. Where Jim Knowles would be out doing, 0 evaluations. Matt Patricia's like, this is awesome. It's draft prep for him, but he doesn't have to worry about if that player is going to be available. He actually has some say and influence on getting that done. So he has been the entire package that you wanted, that Ryan Day wanted when he made that hire back in February, and then some. But again, the caveat is out there. You go out on August 30th. That's the true evaluation. And in the honeymoon could be over, could be even better than it was before. Well, who knows? We're going to find out when they play against Texas. But everything building up to get ready for that point, I think, has just vastly exceeded expectations. Even in the Woody, I would say that's true.
The way you're describing Matt Patricia and his interaction with players, the way he's taken to recruiting, embraced it like that.
Yeah.
Embraced the college game, the college atmosphere. Would it surprise you, when you first heard Patricia was hired, first thought went through my head was I was thinking of Chip Kelly. He's going to come in here, have a great year, and then gone back to the NFL. Do you feel different? How do you feel now? Would it surprise you if he was a one and done?
It would surprise me. And I think most people were reasonably expecting Chip Kelly to give 2 years to this process at Ohio State, but it was never going to be a long-term thing.
Right.
It was from the moment he arrived, a potential outcome that he would leave after 1 year. I didn't think it was going to be to the NFL. I don't think that was the exact way anybody saw it ending, but there wasn't an expectation when he arrived. Well, he's going to be here for the long haul. He's going to continue to work with Ryan Day, and he's going to really like this opportunity to be a coordinator at Ohio State. And I think he did. I think he had a great experience. He certainly parlayed that into another big contract. He got to win a championship with someone he's known for 40 years,
right,
and been a mentor. I think that part was all great. But if you ask Chip Kelly about it, and I'm not saying that I did or didn't, it's eventually he's going to go chase something down. He did not feel like he was done. And it's a very prestigious position. He was well compensated for it. But I think as someone who's been a head coach as long as he was, that was going to happen sooner or later that he was going to take another job. Matt Patricia, and I'm not saying that I have or haven't had this conversation with him, he is looking at this as more of a long-term position. I think the experiences that he had in the NFL, some great and some horrible, has given him an appreciation. And again, he hasn't coached the game yet, so maybe this will change in August or September when he realizes the pressure and scrutiny that comes with that job of being the defensive coordinator at Ohio State on a week-by-week basis. Even if you win and you give up 2 touchdowns, ooh, boy, we're going to be talking about you on the Morning Juice.
Right.
So, we'll see if that maintains. But he appears to be viewing this as a long-term, and I'm not talking a 2-year cameo, like 3-4 years job, because he's incredibly well compensated. The opportunity is unique and exciting for him. Again, at this point, always subject to change. But I would be very surprised if he just turned that into a 1-year deal, because especially with his, settling in a family, there's a lot of similarities there with Ryan Day and him wanting to, get the kids in a spot where they can finish school and finish up high school in one spot. So I think that part is being embraced by Matt Patricia. So I would be surprised. You never want to say never in this, and who knows what kind of offer could come down. If the Silver Bullets are the number 1 total defense in the country again and they go back-to-back, people are going to be trying to hire him away again, and it could be expensive to keep him. But I think Ohio State has got things in place for him to make it that would be not as tempting as it would have been potentially for Chip Kelly.
I thought that Chip Kelly would stick around regardless of success longer just because of that relationship with Ryan Day. But maybe the relationship with Ryan Day made it easier, for him to leave. Like for him to say, you know what, I want to come in here and do this with you. We've done it now. We can't do better than this. Right. I mean, well, you could beat Michigan and win. But I'm saying, but you can't have a better end. There's no way. And so maybe at that point he almost felt like similar and like when LeBron won the title in Cleveland. He's like, you know what? I did what I said. I did what I wanted to do. Now I can go and do something else if I want to.
Well, and this applies to a lot of other situations and not just Chip Kelly, if you're thinking about like recruiting in this day and age. But Ohio State could not have matched the offer that the Raiders threw out. I mean, that contract, I think, is bonkers. I don't know why they're paying that to Chip Kelly, but how could he reasonably say no to it?
Right.
So Ohio State can't, we'd really love to keep Chip Kelly around here for another year. He did a great job as the offensive coordinator and keeps Ryan Day, in that CEO role that he loves. And you don't have to take this bet on Brian Hartline. Let's pay $6 million for an offensive coordinator. No, you can't pay for someone else's desperation. That's not a good way to do business. So once that offer was on the table, it was sort of like, well, what else can you do? I don't think Chip Kelly thought 12 months ago an NFL team is going to offer me multi-million dollars to go call plays. That would have been hard for anyone to project.
And I feel like that there's more pressure. Matt Patricia will feel more pressure as the DC at Ohio State than as the head coach of the Lions.
I'm certain of that.
That's insane to me to think that but it makes sense. I'm not saying I
think that's one of the things that Jim Knowles really why the feelers were out there for him. I don't think he was comfortable with the level of scrutiny and pressure that he was under. He was very good at it. He answered the challenge, but he was certainly irritated by it.
He called all kinds of hell after the Oregon game, when that happened. That was something that was, for losing by 1 point on the road to a damn good Oregon team. It really was their biggest win in their school history. That's the way they treated you. I was out there, and I know, but I saw
on the roof.
I saw grown men weeping after that game. I was like, oh. Ohio State lost. That's too bad. We got a long season ahead, but they were. Yeah, it was.
See you guys in Pasadena.
Right. It was tough for them. All right.